What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Formula One Gridlock podcast. My name, of course, is Nathan Charles, and I'm here once again with my co-host, Chase Bozung. Chase, how are you?
I'm doing good. I am doing good. You know, it was a fun one.
It was the very first running of the Qatari Grand Prix, and Chase,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed it. So first, let's just get into the race rundown. I think we all, there's some thoughts and some feelings and some reactions, but first, let's just get into the rundown. So we got Lewis Hamilton taking first place in the Mercedes. We got Max Verstappen taking second in the Red Bull. Obviously, our two front runners, first and second. That's good for both of them. Third place, out of left field, Chase, and this is really where this race got interesting. Fernando Alonso, third place, his first podium back in Formula One. As you all know, he retired a few years ago, but now he's back.
It's his
fourth
first
place
since 2013, I believe.
Wow. What a gap. Wow. What a driver. What a drive.
What a G.
What a G. Fourth place, Sergio Perez in the Red Bull. Fifth place, Esteban Ocon in the second Alpine. That's a great result for Esteban. Sixth place, Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. Good result for Lance. Seventh and eighth, the Ferrari bros. They can't seem to separate each other. That's Carlos Sainz in seventh, Charles Leclerc in eighth, Lando Norris in ninth in the McLaren. 10th place, Sebastian Vettel in the second Aston Martin. We had 11th place, Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. 12th place, Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren. 13th place, Yuki Tsunoda in the second AlphaTauri. Alfa Romeo's back-to-back. 14th, Kimi Räikkönen. 15th, Antonio Giovinazzi. 16th place, that's a quality result from Mick Schumacher in the Haas. 17th place, George Russell in the Williams. 18th, Nikita Mazepin in the Haas. And we had 2 DNFs due to tire failure. Chase, we had 2 of them. Nicholas Latifi and Valtteri Bottas. So that's tough for those guys, but everybody kind of had to deal with it, and unfortunately, they lost.
Yeah.
So, Chase, give me your one-word description.
I chose fun, because that's honestly just the only thing I could think when watching it. I was having a fun time watching it. I mean, it's not like it was the most fun race ever, but looking at the top 3, looking at the top 5, I mean, that's different. And I hate to say it, but we don't get that many different results anymore. In this one, we have someone who's third place, who's never third place. I don't know. I enjoyed watching it. A new track, that's always fun. New tracks are fun to see. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I went with a little bit of a different word. Well, it was actually a word that one of the announcers used when they were talking about, I think it was when Latifi hit a curb and busted his tire. The word is innocuous. This was an interesting race, but not one that's necessarily memorable.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess although it didn't really change much when it comes to the standings, although it did help Red Bull closed that gap in the constructors with
that was reopened last race.
Yeah, Lewis obviously gets first, so he gets a lot of max points. But Valtteri not scoring any points is really, really gonna hurt Mercedes, especially with Red Bull having 2 drivers in the top 5. So they're gonna be happy. I believe the gap now there is only about 6 points between those two. And I'm wrong. It's actually 5. Excuse me.
Even less.
So my word was innocuous. Chase, give me your driver of the day.
I mean, is anyone going to be surprised by Alonso? It's not like he raced out of his mind, but he got a podium in a world where it's Mercedes and Red Bull 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Then Ferrari 5, 6. Throw Pierre in there, then throw the 2 McLarens in there, and it's like, where do you got room to fit anybody else? You don't. Mm-hmm. And he found a spot there, and I loved it. And it's not like he was there at the end, right? Snuck in he was third place the majority of that race.
Mm-hmm.
I love to
Absolutely.
see it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. I think the the experience that Alonso had, I think, really let him solidify that third place. And the biggest reason I think of because of that is his the way he maintained his tires. We
Hmm.
had guys left and right blowing tires on one stops because they were pushing too hard or doing something, but Alonso was smart enough and experienced enough to really put together a solid drive. He had no tire issues. He even said, like, he was like to his engineer, I forget exactly what he said, but essentially it was like, are we going to make it? And the engineer was like, yeah, you're good. Like, your tires are still good. And so
Hmm.
he was like, sounds good. And he just freaking did the thing, you know?
Yeah, he showed what experience really does mean in F1. You know, it means a
Yeah,
lot.
definitely. All right. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm yawning. Chasing my driver of the day has to go to Sergio Perez. I'm such a
Hmm.
sucker for Sergio Perez. I love the guy, especially after the Mexican Grand Prix.
Oh yeah.
Um, him having such a great race there and the crowd loving him, and I love him too, man. And everything was against Sergio in this race. Everything was against
Agreed.
Sergio in this race. And he still managed to come fourth. He really should have gotten third. I'm kind of mad, but we'll talk about why he really
Well,
didn't get third later.
okay. I was gonna
We'll
pause you,
talk
but
about it
we'll
later.
talk
We'll
about
talk
it
about it
later.
later.
Yeah, we'll be good.
But I'm upset that uh, I'm I, I'm upset that this drive, because of Alonso's third place, and that is great for Alonso. I have a feeling that nobody's going to remember how many stinking cars Sergio Perez passed in this race. I think he probably
No,
lapped the entire grid twice.
the commentators literally made a point about it. They were like, "You must feel like there's 40 cars on the grid."
Exactly. Exactly. So all props to Sergio Perez. Alonso's going to get the headlines and he's well deserved, but Sergio Perez had another fantastic race and I really think he deserves that second Red Bull seat until he doesn't want it anymore. I really do.
I agree. Yeah, I
All
agree.
right, Chase.
If
We
he
kind of
keeps
have
up
similar
doing what he's doing, you know.
absolutely. Chase, we kind of had similar answers here, but give me your team of the day. Who do you got?
It's Alpine. I mean, first of all, Alonso. Right. First of all, Alonso.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people overlooked Ocon in fifth. That's both of them in a top five position. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari world. What are they doing there? The answer is they're getting points and they're trying to secure that best of the rest title, you know?
How many best of the rest are there going to be? Haas is the
Uh
Haas is the best of the rest of the rest of the rest. They're
no,
they're
Haas is
last. They're
just
the
there.
worst.
Haas is just
They,
there.
Haas is the only team this season to not score any points. Tough.
Yeah. Anyway, I think Alpine did a phenomenal job. It's a new track too, so we must not forget that strategies and stuff like that. I mean, they capitalized.
Mm-hmm.
They capitalized.
They capitalized great, two good strategies, and of course, you need your drivers obviously to pull through, and they both did.
Yep.
Alpine pretty solidly in fifth in the constructors. They're quite a ways away from McLaren in fourth. McLaren obviously is fighting with Ferrari, um, although as the weeks go on, that gap between those two teams gets wider and wider.
Yeah.
So my pick, of course, for team of the day was Alpine. I think this was fantastic from them, really
Hmm.
showing uh, not only a steady hand at the wheel of that team, not doing anything crazy, um, but also understanding that this is a good result from them. They need to be able to take this result and learn from it. This is a team that recently went through a rebrand, and although their owners are still the same, like it still kind of feels like this is a new start for them. And is Alonso going to be there forever? No, he's old. Let's just lay it on.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to get what experience you can from a legendary driver like Fernando Alonso, a world champion caliber driver from Fernando Alonso. You needed to take what information, how he runs his car, how and take that information and use it and bring it to the next guy, because the next guy is only going to get better with the experience of a driver like Fernando Alonso. So I
Agree.
think I think Alpine, this was a fantastic result from them. They need to take like what they did at this race and we're really like take that and apply that, because at the end of the day, Chase, it's about what works. It's
Yeah.
not about what doesn't work. It's not about what I think is going to work. It's about
Mm-hmm.
what works and the teams that can emulate what work.
Yeah. And
That I mean,
Alonso's regarded as one of the best to ever live, so who better to listen to but the guy who's racing on your team who's one of the best to ever live?
exactly. I always, whenever I'm like this, whenever I see a smaller, on the lower rung team have a good weekend, I always think back to when we had uh, Racing Point and now Aston Martin and their whole debacle with the quote unquote pink Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
And I, whatever, first off, it's not cheating. It never was. I don't know why everyone was like, "Oh, it's cheating."
I think
It
it
it was
bordered
a
it.
s- it was that was a incredibly smart thing for that team to do.
I agree.
They emulated what worked. There's literally nothing wrong with that. These There's no point really in unless you absolutely have the space to do it, to experiment. Like, do what works and then take that information when you have a baseline of what works, and then work off of that. So I think Alpine needs to take this race as a baseline and build off of it. And if they can do that and they can learn from the driver that they have in Fernando Alonso, they will be successful in the future. And I think that's it. I think that's really all you need to say about it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Chase. Let's talk about bad stuff, because there was some bad stuff here in
Oh
this
yeah.
race. There was some
Oh
stuff
yeah.
that didn't really go wrong. Obviously, about 15 seconds in, Lewis had already taken the lead, and the race was pretty much over from at first.
Lewis started
You
to
know,
lead.
from yeah, I mean, but
You mean
there was
taking it to home. Yeah, okay.
yeah, I mean, he gets a 3 second lead like almost immediately, and Max obviously started at seventh, and so essentially, Lewis pretty much had this race wrapped up from the first lap. But that's really not what made this race sort of exciting. So Chase, go ahead.
For me, it's the obvious choice of tires. And I kind of wanted to loop two things into it. Uh, but the first is just tires because like I always say when stuff like this happens, it's so disappointing not only for the fans but for the racers, for the drivers, it's like you spend your whole life, your whole weekend, your whole week building up to just get a flat. Yeah, I mean,
Very
it's
anticlimactic.
yeah, it's so disappointing, but I kind of also want to group in just Bottas's performance regardless of his tire. I think
Mm,
Bottas was doomed to perform bad, and his tire just made sure that he DNF'd essentially.
yeah, I kind of look at this. This was a race that we really got to see kind of the driver that Valtteri Bottas is, and I have said it from the beginning, but I have always felt that Valtteri Bottas is a mediocre driver in a fantastic car. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that is harsh, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to do that much when he's out of the Mercedes. And in a race like this, where he has to start in the middle of the grid with somebody who we consider a top class driver in Sergio Perez, uh, they started. So Sergio starts in 11th,
Mm-hmm.
and Valtteri Bottas starts in 6th.
Uh-huh.
6th,
Yeah.
and by the end of it, granted, uh, Bottas uh, has the puncture. But by the end of it, not only has, I think within a few laps, Sergio has made his way up and even past Valtteri Bottas, and now Valtteri's stuck in the middle of the pack, and he just can't do anything. He
Mm-hmm.
can't do anything.
And it's so like it's almost comical, and I hate to say that because I hate to be rude, but like the race engineer was like, "Okay, Valtteri, time to do it. Time to get past the midfield, please." Like, and it's just so sad to see. I don't know, the mediocre, like you said, a mediocre driver in such a phenomenal car. I don't know if it's worse to see the fact that he can do so well, or if it's worse to see him do bad. If you know what I mean. I don't know. I don't know what's more disheartening.
It is tough. All right, Chase. My worst of the weekend. This is something that you can't really do anything, and maybe you don't even recognize it as it's happening. But obviously, hindsight being 2020, Sergio Perez did not need to two-stop that race,
Mm-hmm.
and
Agree.
I cannot understand why they did it. Sergio Perez does one thing better than anyone else on the grid. What is it, Chase?
It's protecting his tires. The commentators said it. We all thought it.
The
He's
man,
he's good at it.
he's literally the best.
Yeah.
In a race like this, where he's in a good position, you're going to get third place, and his tires, and his tires, people are making it on the one stop. People are going to go for the one stop. Yes, yes, Bottas had a puncture. Yes, there were other punctures, but Alonso made it on a one stop.
Yeah.
I I get why they did it, but I hate that they did. I hate that they
Yeah.
did because it's a risk that you have to take. And then they're like, this, like, he pits, and then he's on the radio and he's like, I don't think I should have done this. How many cars do I now I have to overtake like four more cars in order to get back to where I was in like 10 laps. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And what's even wilder is he almost freaking does it. He almost does it. He's got
He
like 4
almost
seconds.
does
If
it.
if you give him like maybe a couple more laps, maybe he catches Alonso, but obviously that's not how F1 works. Like, you can't
Yeah.
just give a guy more laps. Sergio Perez should have gotten third, and I think Red Bull really made the wrong call here, pulling him in. They should have trusted and just said, you know what, Sergio, people are having issues with their tires. Do your thing. Do your thing, Chief. Do your thing. Let him do his thing, and I think Sergio Perez really gets third here. So this was tough for me.
I think so, but to play devil's advocate, I do think, like you said, it comes down to they didn't want to risk him getting a puncture and then just completely dying and them losing a bunch of points. And I think they're trying to win constructors and they're
Yeah,
playing it safe. And uh, it's not that so it's not about the driver. It's about the situation. They
yeah.
understand that Sergio can do it. We all do. I think they simply wanted to be like, hey, I don't want him blowing a tire, because we decided to do a one stop strategy here, and he becomes Bottas DNFing, or Latifi DNFing. So
Mm-hmm. I understand. All right, Chase. Let's get into some topics. A pretty big one, and an unfortunate one. Today is the 28th of November, and we have actually just gotten word that Sir Frank Williams has died. Rest in peace to a
yes,
legend,
very sad.
an absolute F1 legend. I mean, the amount of people that this guy worked with. He was a part
Mm-hmm.
of 16 championships. Obviously, the
Yeah.
founder of Williams Racing. I mean, some of these names are K.K. Rosberg, Nelson Piquet, Nigel Mansell, Alain Prost, Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, and even uh, freaking
Ayrton Senna.
Ayrton Senna. Thank you. I could not, for some reason, I could not. It was, the name isn't right in front of me. So, I mean, that list of names alone is incredible. Like I said, 16. Uh, he won 114 races, 9 constructors. I mean,
A legend, literally,
Incredible.
just
Incredible.
a legend of the sport. And might we not forget that he's knighted Sir Frank Williams?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
he was recognized. He was recognized by the Queen. He's a G.
Hmm. Absolutely. So rest in peace, of course, Frank Williams. And honestly, like, I don't know. We need to get this. We need to get this Williams team back up and running, back to the top,
They're getting
because
there.
when Formula One is good, Williams is good as well.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, on that somber note, let's talk about the championship
Mm-hmm.
because we're in the last two races. We've got
Mm-hmm.
Saudi Arabia and we've got Abu Dhabi.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, Chase. Two more.
Yeah. There's some fun things that can happen with points here. There's some really fun
Absolutely.
things.
So let's talk about Max Verstappen
Yeah.
and some of the scenarios that could happen. I want to. There's four of them, and I want to see which one you think is like possibly the most viable.
Uh-huh.
So we've got Max finishes first with the fastest lap,
Mm-hmm.
and Hamilton finishes sixth or lower.
Uh-huh. And he wins the championship right there for the
He
viewers at
wins it
home. That
right
is
there.
undisputed. Hamilton can't do anything. Wins it
Yes.
right there.
So if he gets first with the fastest lap, so an extra point, and Hamilton finishes sixth or lower. If Max finishes first, no fastest lap, Hamilton finishes seventh or lower. If
Mm-hmm.
Max finishes second with the fastest lap, Hamilton finishes 10th or lower. And
Mm-hmm.
if Max finishes second and Hamilton doesn't score at all,
Those are all the ways Max wins the championship off the bat.
yes, he has to get at least second, and Hamilton needs to not have a good race at all.
And I'll add another one. There's a fifth scenario. I mean, there's obviously tons and tons of scenarios, but there's a fifth fun scenario where Hamilton pulls in first with fastest lap and Max Verstappen pulls in second. That puts them in a dead tie going into the next race.
Oh, me? Oh, my. Oh, man. All right, Chase. Which one of these do you think is going to happen? I'm privy to if I think Max will finish first, and then Hamilton might have an engine failure. There might be something wrong. Something
So
might happen with the car.
here's my thoughts on it. I think if Max is going to win the championship this race, right?
Yeah.
I think the I think the likelihood of him doing that is low, but I think if he does do it, Hamilton's DNFing or essentially DNFing.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I don't think Hamilton comes in sixth or higher unless like something terrible is happening. He wants
Mm-hmm.
another championship. Mercedes wants him to have it. You know, he loves it.
Yeah. They're
And
fighting. They're
they're
fighting. They have
fighting.
not given
And
up.
as much as I don't give Hamilton credit, he is statistically speaking the greatest to ever live. So I think if Max wins it in this next race, it is 100% down to Hamilton's DNFing or, you know, blows 5 tires, goes to the back of the grid, can't get back up, you know, kind of thing.
For sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think that is.
essentially DNFing, whether it's technical or not, I think that's the only way Max Verstappen wins.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think. And I don't know. Would you be satisfied with that if that were to happen? As a Red Bull fan, as a self-proclaimed Red Bull fan yourself, would you be happy if Lewis DNFs and Max wins?
So it comes down to a lot of things. First of all, let's play the game. He fully DNFs, right? Fully out of the race. It depends on when it happens and how it happens. If it happens in the beginning, I'm disappointed. If it happens lap 56 out of 57, I don't know. You could make the argument that he had the entire race to win, you know, kind of thing, and it becomes more fun that way. And it also depends on, like, does another driver just blatantly smash into him, and
Mm.
that's why he DNFs, or is it something that's out of everyone's hands? His engine blows, his transmission gets shot, you know. So it depends on what it is. And basically what I'm saying is I want it to be competitive if it is going to happen. But I personally think the most interesting result is Hamilton is present for the entire race, but just simply cannot get sixth or higher. And Max is just driving out of his mind.
Yeah, that would be that. Although that would probably be the most interesting, I just Lewis has been so good from the middle of the pack. Like
Exactly.
we've seen
Exactly.
him so many times, get a penalty for running Max off the road and crashing him into a wall. And then of course, slap on the wrist, you get a short penalty, and then he still wins the
Hmm.
race.
Yeah.
Like as much as I dislike Lewis Hamilton, and I do not want him to win, he is a fantastic driver, and it really doesn't matter
Agreed.
where you put him. He's going to find his way to the front. So
Agreed.
I think
So,
these two are probably going to be going at it on this weekend next.
yeah,
So
I think the most out of the options we chose, I chose a DNF, but I think the actual option that happens here is Maxwell and Hamilton do. And
yeah,
then they fight in the next race. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if I want the stress of it, but it makes a better championship, right? Down to the final race.
absolutely, it makes a better championship, and hopefully with these changes too, in the final track there in Abu Dhabi, which is notorious for not having a ton of overtaking opportunities. You've got
Mm-hmm.
kind of the one long straight, and then you've got kind of one sweeping straight. But that's
Yeah.
really about it. Um, with these changes that we're going to see, and we are going to see a couple of changes to some
Yeah.
corners. Um, hopefully, this race really will be not only a good race for the spectators, but also for the championship.
Yeah. I
Keep
agree.
it interesting until the very end. And honestly, that is what Formula One overall. This has been a season that Formula One really needed. If you think about it,
Yeah. Oh,
if
yeah.
you think about it, so you've got kind of this spike in, especially us American viewership.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if that spike was 3 years ago, and now we get to just watch 3 years of Lewis Hamilton dominating.
Boring.
Formula One is so incredibly happy that this kind of resurgence of Red Bull, of Max Verstappen really coming into really maturing as a driver. They are so happy that this happened right
Liberty
now in
Media.
this
Yeah.
year. Because if you're not watching Formula One now, it doesn't get much better than this.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
really
unless
doesn't.
we're talking about the OGs, it really doesn't.
Yeah,
It's
unless we're talking about a three-way fight for the championship, but
2012.
but
Anybody?
yeah, but three-way fights typically don't happen. That's just not something that
It's
happens.
very hard for them because there's
Yeah,
not that many points slash races to go around.
exactly. So, when you've got two teams that are really fighting you've got two drivers and two teams that are fighting for the constructors and the drivers like we do have this year. I mean, it doesn't get much better. And
Yeah.
especially these two drivers, you've got Lewis being he's so very calm, and he's the, I hate to say pretty boy, but he's the kind of the poster boy for Formula One. And then you've got Max, the young lion, the
Yeah.
golden boy, the kid who's literally supposed to take the crown from him. Everyone is like, Max is the next champion.
Hmm. He is.
And,
Whether it be
you
this
know,
year or next year or
exactly.
more,
Exactly.
he's the next champion if it's not Hamilton.
Yeah. Like I said, Formula One is so incredibly happy that this season happened right now. And even like for the future, what this means, how much longer does Lewis stay in? Is Max going to get another champ? Is Max going to get a challenger? Is this Lewis's role now, that attempting to win back his throne from Max? I can't wait. I can't wait. It's gonna be
Yeah.
great. It's gonna be great for the next few years, and especially with these new regulations coming. Oh
Hmm.
man,
It's
we're gonna
gonna be a
have.
fun
I
year
think we're
next
gonna have
year.
good. We're gonna have a quality, a quality championship fight. I think for the next few years, probably until Lewis retires. To be perfectly honest, because I don't think
Yeah.
he's ever gonna swap from Mercedes. You know what I mean?
There's no way. There's no way he leaves. There's no way they let him go. Not unless he's in it for like two more decades and Ferrari wants him for some reason.
Yeah.
is no way he leaves Mercedes. It's just not happening.
Yeah. All right, Chase. What's this about? A mini game? A little mini game? A
Yeah.
little fun game?
I got a
I
mini
love
game,
games.
and I haven't quite figured out how to quiz because it's a little hard. But it's a mini game about overtaking. Right now, everyone's talking about 2021, who's gotten the most overtakes, who's going to win a new Crypto.com trophy award for overtaking this year. But I'm not going to talk about that. And that's interesting, sure, whatever. But I'm going to talk about the all-time overtakes. So we're going to play a game,
Okay.
and I'll give you a bunch of things to guess. And if you get
I
close
love
on
guessing.
them, that's good. You're not going to get any of them head on, and if you do, that's great. But it's too broad, basically. So I'm going to go down some of the records in F1 of overtakes and races and by people and all this fun stuff, and see if you can guess any of them. All right.
Okay.
So the question is, which dry race had the most overtakes out of any other F1 race, and or how many overtakes do you think it was inside that race by all the drivers, everyone on the grid?
Which dry?
Which dry race, which means there's no rain on the track. Which dry
Okay.
race? You can guess year, you can guess track, and then you can guess the amount of overtakes.
Oh my gosh, Chase, this is
Yeah, I'm
way
not.
too much.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying you have 3 different chances to guess
Okay.
because it's so broad. You're
I'm
lucky if
never
you
gonna
get
get
one of
this.
them. Yeah.
Okay, so for year, I'll
Hmm.
say let me narrow it down.
Do you want a hint?
Yeah, give me a hint, of course.
Uh,
You were not prepared for the hint.
well, I'm trying to think about how to not give it away.
Can you? Okay,
I'll say
well,
this:
tell
Nico
me who.
Rosberg was on the grid at the time.
Okay, all right, that's helpful. Can you give me like the championship winner that year?
I cannot. No, that
Okay.
gives it away.
Okay. Well, if Nico Rosberg, so then it was like early 2000s to early 2010s, so like 2005.
Okay. You want me to tell
No.
you whether you're wrong or not, or
Well, just tell
yeah,
me, dude.
yeah,
We're
I'll
gonna
tell
be
you.
here forever.
It's 2016. You
Oh,
got a
okay.
guess for
2016.
the track now that you know the year?
All right, that's nice. 2016. I'm trying to. I don't. Rosberg. Maybe Monza.
It's the Chinese Grand Prix.
Oh, okay.
And how many
We didn't have
overtakes
that
do
this
you
year.
think happened?
How many over? Okay, so there were 21 cars on the grid. I'm thinking, uh, 40. I don't know.
Way higher.
What? Oh my gosh.
161 overtakes happened in the 2016 Chinese Grand Prix.
How many? 100 and
61.
161. Oh my gosh.
Yup. All right.
That's nuts. That's so
Yeah.
many overtakes. What do you have like an average? Like what is the average at on a normal F1 race? How many overtakes?
I'll tell you the average is not nearly that much because one of the next questions kind of mentions what an average for the season was, and it's absurd.
Okay.
So we'll continue on. All
I
right.
got you.
So wet race. I will give you a better hint on the year, just so we can have a little more fun. It is in between 2010 and 2018. It is a wet race. Can you give me the year, the track, and how many overtakes you think happened?
In between, you said 2015
2010 and 2018.
2010. I'm going to say it was 2014, Brazil, and there were 78 overtakes.
Still low on the overtaking part, but you got the track.
Yes,
it was the Brazilian Grand Prix.
When every once in a while, that Brazilian Grand Prix gets rained on, and it gets crazy when that happens.
It goes wild.
So I kind of figured that one of these would be Brazil, especially the wet ones.
It was 2012, so 2 years off, not bad. and it was 147 overtakes.
147. So like about 20 less than that other one.
Yeah, which I would have expected more for wet. I would have figured that
I
wet races would have ventured on the higher side, personally.
Yeah, I would have too. I guess it all comes down to whether like if a car like spins out, if that's counted as like an overtake.
Well, I think
Like
so. I think if
if
I'm
you're
second, I spin out and the entire grid passes me. I think that's an overtake for every person on the grid because they go
okay.
up a position, right?
Yeah. Yeah, then I guess I would expect that to be higher than the dry, but
Yeah. All right.
wait. Okay. No, yeah. That I think one of the reasons the Chinese Grand Prix has so many is because the pit straight is so long.
Mm-hmm.
The pit
You
straight
got a
on that
lot of
Chinese Grand
time.
Prix is really long. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah. All right. Next one.
Continue.
Most overtakes for the lead, meaning how many times did this single person overtake to get the lead? Actually, it might not be single, but how many times did someone who is not in the lead overtake to get the lead? Right. So I'm second. I take it. You're first. Now you're second. You take it back from me, and we keep swapping. All
Okay.
right. So for
Can you give me
the
a time frame?
year, we are about. I don't want to give it too much away, but
We're pretty close.
we are not born for the next
Oh.
a lot of decades. We're not born.
Oh no.
So it's a long time
Okay.
ago.
Um
And race year overtakes.
all right. 60s.
Can you narrow it down? I'll give you a hint. You're
Uh
there. You're getting there.
68.
It's 65.
I was
65.
actually about to guess 65, just smack dab in
Yeah.
the middle. Okay,
Yeah.
65.
That's
Oh my
good.
gosh. I didn't
Just
Can I look
guess an
up
old track.
an old track? Oh, jeez. Monaco.
It's the Italian Grand Prix.
So Monza or
I
the other one?
yeah, Monza. I was gonna say it doesn't specify, but it does.
Well, there is another like quote unquote Italian Grand Prix.
Yeah, another old Italian one. Anyway, how many overtakes do you think second made to first?
18.
41 different overtakes for first place.
41. Who was it? Wait, let me think. Jackie Stewart
Uh-huh.
and Jochen Rindt.
I'll give you a hint. Four drivers were swapping
Oh, there were 4 different leaders. Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought this was like one
Oh,
like 2
no.
drivers
Yeah.
passing each other 41 times.
No, it's 4 people past each other to get first place.
Okay. So
You
Graham
got
Hill,
one right with Jackie
Jackie
Stewart.
Stewart, Graham Hill, Here's who I think it is. Graham Hill, Jackie Stewart, Bruce
Yep.
McLaren, and Jochen Rindt.
No. It's Jim Clark and then John Surtees.
Okay. So a Ferrari driver, BRM. I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on.
Interesting.
That one's an old one. All right, so this one's
That
fun.
was an old one, Chase. Holy cow.
Yeah, this one's fun. You've got a lot to hit on this one.
Okay.
So, fewest overtakes in a race. Give me the amount, the year, in the Grand Prix. It happened 3 times. So you have 3 chances at a year and 3 Grand Prix.
Okay.
The hint is we were alive for all of them, and not one is the same track.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm going to say, let's go 2 years ago. So 2019, Abu Dhabi.
Mm-hmm.
And the overtake number was 4.
Okay. Which means it's 4 for the rest of them, by the way. It's the same number for all of these. They're all tied for this position.
All right. Sure. Wait. No. 4 is way too low. Because it because it counts as an overtake too, right? When the driver goes into the pits and then the driver passes him. That counts as an overtake, doesn't it?
Based off of what I'm looking at, No.
Okay. All right. Good. So 4. I'll stick with 4, but I have a feeling that that's way too low. The other years, I don't know, 2010 Monaco. I bet Monaco is one of the tracks.
You got Monaco. That's
All
correct.
right, good. And Abu Dhabi, was that right?
Abu Dhabi was not right.
Okay. And then Sochi, Russia
No.
is my third. No?
No in Sochi.
Okay.
Do you got 3 years?
No,
You said
I'm not gonna guess
2018.
the years.
Okay.
Just go.
So it's 0 overtakes.
No way.
Monaco, US, and European, 2003, 2005, and 2009, respectively.
There were no overtakes at the US in the Circuit of the Americas?
Yep. It might
Oh,
be, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the Texas track because we've had a couple different tracks here in the US
yeah,
over
because
time.
there was that really bad one in
The
like
Indianapolis one.
yeah, but there was another one too, wasn't there? In
I don't
like
know, but the one cited is the really bad race where it's only 6 cars started. That was the 2005 Grand Prix, and that's where
oh
there
my
was no overtakes. And my guess is with the other ones is that uh, they were counting where drivers finished versus where they started. Because, like you
okay.
said, you brought up a good point with pitting. You pit,
Yeah.
that's, people
How does that work?
overtaking you. So, all right. And
I
then
would
we'll
consider an
do,
overtake what it's just when like you are both racing and the guy behind you gets in front of
yeah,
you. You like don't spin
yeah.
out. That's what I consider a quote unquote overtake.
Yeah.
So
I think
I
that's
don't know.
they have a definition for it, but it's really long, so I haven't read it. I think that's pretty much I agree with you. All right, so there's a couple more. This one's
All right,
easy
all right.
because it's most overtakes by a single driver in a season. It is old because 2021's beating it currently. 3 drivers are beating it. But can you guess the old one? The amount of overtakes made by one single driver, the driver's name, and the year. Do you want a hint?
Yeah, of course I want a hint, Chase.
It's a Red Bull driver, which gives you from
Currently?
late 90s to 2000s. I won't speak on whether it's currently, it's just a Red Bull driver did it at some point in
It's
Red Bull's
definitely
history.
Sebastian Vettel. Um and then what year?
Yep, what year and how many overtakes he made that
I
season?
would say probably the year of his first championship, which was
2010.
2010. Is
Mm-hmm.
that in the
Because it's
within the
2010,
criteria?
11, 12, 14.
And then how many total
Uh-huh. How many total?
over the season?
Yeah, I'll give you a hint. It is a lot less than both of the races that we mentioned earlier.
75.
Really close.
Oh, okay.
78,
78.
but it's Max Verstappen.
Oh, is it really Max Verstappen?
2016. So they mention it here, he made like 18 for Toro Rosso and then 60 for Red Bull when he got pushed up, which was an average of 3.7 per race at Red Bull.
Wow. Very
Yeah,
impressive.
that's a lot.
Came
All
out of the
right,
gates hard.
final one. Most overtakes in a single season. All right, not one race, not by one driver, by everyone on the grid for the entire season. Now, I'll give you a couple hints.
There's no way I'm getting this.
I'll give you a couple hints. All right.
Okay.
It is one of the most competitive seasons we have ever seen, both by driver lineup and by championship standards. It's let's see, how do I phrase this? It's a lot. It's in the hundreds.
It's a lot.
It's in the hundreds. It's one of the most competitive seasons ever. And if I said this season, you'd be like, that makes so much sense. But think
Okay.
about like stellar lineup, driver lineup, all across the grid, relatively even playing field. No one's super dominating. We got a lot of heavy hitters. What year and how many?
So, all right. My first thought is 2012.
Is that your final answer?
I feel like it's older than that. I feel like it's because in 2012 you had Schumacher at Mercedes. There's just a lot of like kind of older drivers that were still quality. There's a lot of them.
Well, here, I'll say this. Before you lock in your answer, have a
Okay.
guess at how many it was, and then I'll tell you how many it was, and we can go back to the year.
Okay. Is it in the thousands? Like,
No. No.
okay, it's
But it
not in the
is in the
thousands.
hundreds.
Sure.
Significantly.
650.
You're about 220 shy. It is 870 overtakes in that year.
In that year. Okay. That's a lot. That's a
It
lot of
is an
overtakes.
average of, I think, 43.5 overtakes per race.
Okay. I'm
Which
just
is
gonna lock in.
absurd.
I'm just gonna lock in 2012. Like I because at this point I kind of don't know.
You're right. It's 2012.
Woohoo! Let's go.
And it makes sense. 2012 is one of the most, like I said, one of the most competitive seasons with one
Yeah.
of the biggest. It's got the most uh, world champions in it out of any year.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a
But
dominant year. It was not like Ferrari was, Red Bull came out on top to
yeah, Red
continue
Bull
their
won.
streak, but it was wild. Yeah, 2012. But 43 overtakes per race. Now that would be a fun season.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we can get back to that
Yeah,
with these new
new regulations.
these new regulations. All right, Chase, time to wrap it up, Chase. Time to wrap it up.
Yep.
We've had our fun. Final well, not final, excuse me. Second
Yep.
to last, Saudi Arabia,
Mhm.
December 3rd, December 4th, December 5th, which is next weekend.
Yep.
Who do you got winning? What do you got? It's a very long and
Windy.
windy track. It's just honestly, it looks like a straight line back and forth.
Yeah.
50
I think
laps.
for
Yeah.
me, first place,
Jeddah.
Max Verstappen. It's very windy, and Max Verstappen has phenomenal control over his car. And we know that Mercedes is better in a straight line, but this isn't really a straight line. It's a squiggly wiggly. So I think Max is one. I think if Hamilton doesn't DNF, he's two. And I think Perez he's Red Bull's number two. I think he's right in there at number three.
All right. I think I agree with you. I think Max is gonna. He's really like this is crunch time. I've said that the last few weeks, but this is really is crunch time. Max is going to take first. I think he's going to command this one, but I think the Mercedes are because they are so good on the straights. Like I think this is going to be a Mercedes 2-3. I think Valtteri Bottas and I think Hamilton second, Bottas third. I think Mercedes is really going to make sure that nothing out of the ordinary happens in this race.
Yeah. I'd be disappointed because I would pretty much crush championship constructor for a Mercedes, but I could see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could see it. And a fun fact I'll add, this is the second longest track on the grid, preceded by Spa.
Interesting. We did not get Spa this year.
We did not. We almost got it.
We almost got it.
Mazepin got a fastest lap on it.
So we really didn't get it.
Yeah, that means we didn't get it.
All right, Chase. Well, I'll see you next week.
Yep, see you.